Okay, so Greg, I got to bring in here real quick because we're doing this. It's a little late, and it's always the way it is. We try and record out in advance, so I can't do it. I can't do it any justice. But Greg, I need you to step in here, and I need you to give me your best Master Blaster rules Bartertown. Come on, let's do this right.
You see, that's one of those lines like, Luke, I'm your father. I'm not sure if I have it right.
You 100%. I've heard it, and I need you to give it to the Stain people. I've heard it. It gives me chills. It gives me chills down to the subcockles of my heart, deep in the fire of my loins.
Embargo. Right. Who owns Bordertown? Master Blaster.
Say again.
Master Blaster.
That
wasn't her line, though. The line
no,
that
Master Blaster rules Bartertown.
Yeah.
That's. But I mean, I knew you and I were gonna get along. I don't know, from not even minute, from like second two of the two of us meeting. But I remember you giving me that impersonation, and I'm like, holy shit, Greg nails Tina Turner. Greg absolutely nails Tina
Master
Turner.
Blaster.
It was a damn
too
shame.
soon, Tina. Too soon.
83, but you know, 82, what we got, Rashad? What? 83. All right, you know, still, hey, you know, a hell of a life.
Still dead.
Still, yes, we all reached that point, and it was too soon. And I fully admit, I went back and hit the Spotify and went through all the stuff, including the Ike and Tina years. I still want to hear that stuff. There's nothing quite like listening to
fuck Ike.
Absolutely, but I'm still gonna listen to her. She absolutely kills
83,
it.
my bad. And Ike Turner, shout out to the Kanye West before Kanye West.
Pre-Kanye.
You gotta, when your name becomes synonymous with domestic violence, I mean, to actually pretty much put a TM on it, there you go. I guess that's a legacy. But yeah,
just another mark of fucked up racism, because you gotta think, like, Ike Turner was a fucking monster. He was horrible. There's a lot of things that should have come to him, and thank God for Tina and her strength and moving forward. She was a role model to women like my mom, who, don't get me wrong, I don't want to make the wrong impression. My mom wasn't in a domestic violence situation, but my parents were going through a hard separation. She was a young woman. We're raising two kids. We were in LA when Tina Turner kicked the shit out of Ike Turner, got out of the limo, and started her whole new life. A lot of women in the local area definitely resonated from that, as well as nationally, globally, to the point where my mom, who was raised a Christian, literally went right into Hinduism because Tina Turner turned to that, and basically meditation-based Hinduism or Buddhism, to kind of find her North Star and help people like my mom, stuff like that. To the point where I remember distinctly, there are times where I would walk into our living room when it was just me and my mom and my brother, and the entire room would be filled with candles, and she would be doing her chants, and we had to get the fuck out because she would go from super peaceful and mindful to you're fucking out my chant, and get an ass whooping, which is a juxtaposition for a 5-year-old you really don't want to be in. But the reason why I even led to all this is so Ike Turner is the only person we think of when it comes to domestic violence. There's no one before Ike Turner and no one after. This one dude, it's kind of weird how 11% of the population can be the distinct examples of so many different bad things. It's just mind blowing. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I think we might be off on a couple of these fucking formulas. I don't know. So it needs to
just a tiny bit. And the fact that, take it back 10 years before Tina left Ike, she wouldn't have even been allowed to leave him, right? There was all that, and the domestic violence wouldn't have even been an excuse. It would have been, well, yeah, and right. So just even to the year of my birth, 1974, that was around the time that it became like, oh, yeah, okay, that's reason, that's actually grounds for the divorce at that particular point in time. So for all of you out there looking for, to bring back quote unquote to get rid of no fault divorce, because that's a thing now again. So glad we're moving this way, America. Yeah, there you go.
Really, to my point, I'm just pointing out, like, there are celebrities who beat the shit out of their spouses in public with cameras running, and they don't even get made as synonymous with the idea of domestic violence. Shit, Sean Penn whooped 3 different girlfriends, 2 in public, and no one gives a shit. Like, that dude still, don't get me wrong, I'll watch a Sean Penn movie, but it's just weird that because I'm with you. Like, Ike Turner, first I do think of is 1, fuck that guy, and 2, yeah, fucking domestic violence bitch. But at the same time, I was like, why is he the only person? It's like we act like he's the only or the worst example in even celebrity. It's the same thing with, like, why I say even Kanye. Like, everyone's acting like that guy was literally the first person to be anti-Semitic in Hollywood or in the music industry or in this country. Or he's the one that brought it back. Meanwhile, there's a goddamn march that happened that kicked off a shitstorm of Nazis. And now there's fucking U-Haul trucks. I guarantee you, we're all thinking the same thing when we see a U-Haul truck. 30%, there's some assholes in the back with khaki shirts and dark blue polos, like they're goddamn rejects from Best Buy, who are about to hop out and do their best, whatchamacallit, what was that shit on HBO? That got canceled for no goddamn reason. It was
not following.
It was a remake of the movie and that was a comic. Damn. You guys love it.
Oh, yeah. Watchmen.
Yeah. Hopping out.
Yeah.
Bootleg Watchmen who worked for Best Buy and got fired. So, like, it's just weird how, again, 11% of the population tends to end up being the known example of a lot of bad things.
Funny that, it's just amazing how that happens. But you know what? I'll go back and I will blame I'll go back to the root of it all. I'll go back to where we're always blaming the devil. The devil is to blame. That's clearly where it is. And you know where the devil resides, Rashawn? Do you have any idea where the devil is right now?
I mean, I got a couple of guesses.
All right. But right now, because it's been identified, we're
in mixed company, so I can't really identify it too well.
All right. The devil is living in Target. That's what I've been told now. The devil himself is living in Target in swimsuits. Apparently, he's been spotted in the
Wait, he's wearing the swimsuits, or he's in the swimsuit section?
He's in the swimsuit section, and he's handing out swimsuits to children.
Saying that the devil is the reason why Target even displays any of these things, be it swimsuits or little outfits or a rainbow display.
What all of it, whatever it is, whatever has.
I want these fuckers when they actually see a real rainbow in the sky. Like I will. I'm not ever gonna back you, but I will respect the shell you much more if you see a rainbow in the sky and you try to take that bitch out. Like, all right, yeah, you're against rainbows. I got it. Cool. Yeah. Get to work.
Go with yourself. Go with your bad self.
Put that there.
Especially as Pride Month kicks off, because clearly that's it. I mean, I don't know.
You're not impressed me if you take out cardboard rainbow. Ooh, what did you do there? But hey, that rainbow that showed up naturally, kind of like the sexuality you hate, but that rainbow that you that showed up naturally, why don't you get to work on that, tough guy? Oh no, you can't. You can't fucking do anything about it. Yeah, that's kind of the point.
It must be woke.
It must. Well, it is right.
Yeah,
so
must
I
be
don't know.
If you catch
must
Leprechaun,
be
you're definitely gonna get pegged.
I-
That's the pot of gold.
They are
That's the pot of
pegging-
That's
gold.
the
The
pot of gold.
leprechaun. The leprechaun's gonna peg you. I love it.
Yeah. Lucky's giving cereal to the kids so he can get to work on the parents. And
Oh
they're
my
down.
god.
They're down.
I need to get to the bottom of this Satan swimsuits thing. So Satan is
Okay.
handing out swimsuits at Target to children, and so that means that the devil is
Yes.
is wearing Target. Like I don't totally understand.
So
You
the
had to give up
latest,
on the Prada. You know that shit.
the
right?
latest,
That
the
shit's
latest
expensive.
kerfuffle is that apparently, I mean, allegedly, I don't even know where this shit comes from. So there were some Pride swimsuits that were for all ages in Target. So of course it's a threat to the children. We always know that's always, that's always what the threat
Children
is
are
to.
for target practice and nothing else. Go ahead.
Right. But yeah, so that's
That
the
statement
threat.
had way
That's the
more
word.
meaning than needed to for this.
So when it comes down to it, allegedly, I can't even find where people come up with this shit. The designer of it was allegedly a Satanist, which if you really look at Satanists, it's kind of funny. And if you actually look at, the Church of Satan or the Satanic Temple, it's pretty hilarious. But allegedly, yes. So yes, it's a magical power. It's witchcraft. It's the devil himself. It's
So
everybody
putting on these
conspiring.
underwear will make your kids gay.
or trans. Don't forget that, because that's the plot. Is it's
Because
all
apparently the devil also has shitty goals. I mean, what kind of
Well-
power are you where that's one of your mission statement items. List
listen.
number 3, make the kids gay. List number 4, like what? Why the fuck would the
Right.
devil even want that? Like,
Right.
who would make a list and that's on their list?
That's,
Other than the
well,
people who are obviously projecting.
Well, I go with our patron. Listen, this podcast has a patron saint. It's Dan Cummins out in Idaho, and he's got his own very successful podcast. So go listen to that. It's all that. But yeah, his skit is 100%. I can never, when I hear people freak out about the devil, I can never not now think of his example of if it really was that simple that you were just going to sell your soul and you would get all these riches and become whatever and just give it away to the devil. That there'd be no more homeless people.
Yeah, well, Dan's making a different point on that. That has a lot more to do with like the selling your soul. This is more the devil's responsible. The shit you're talking about, which again is like, why do we think the devil? Like, if the devil's supposed to be so goddamn evil, if he's supposed to be like the source of all evil, why are we putting him in such weird low goals? I mean, it makes no sense. It's like if Dr. Doom really actually existed and he had all the powers that he has in comics, yet the worst he's gonna do to you is like flatten one tire. Like if you see it, it's like it's not even a bad flat. Like your tube's still fine. It's just like a minor inconvenience. Like
$1 million.
Exactly.
Like I'm
kind of
Dr.
low
Doom,
there.
and I will add 2 minutes of traffic to all of your lives. Ha ha ha. I was like, what? That's the best you got with the power you have? What the fuck?
Satan will slow down the Wi-Fi and the internet, and it will take a few more moments to load your page.
I will bring you back to 4G. Ha ha. It's like, no.
Don't even joke about that, you guys. You guys,
Yeah.
come on. You guys.
Yes. Well, don't forget
Don't
the
even
5G.
joke about that.
The 5G was another product of Satan, so it would make sense that he could bring it back to 4G. Like he give it, he take it the
was.
way.
No, I think I do remember when Satan was responsible for 5G.
Yeah,
And
nothing like
that's how he
hearing.
gave people COVID.
Yeah, nothing like
100%,
having
yeah.
people say that or post things on 5G about the devil producing
Yes.
5G.
Yeah.
I always love that. It's like, yeah, the devil did it, but you somehow are comfortable using the devil's services, aren't you? I mean, that's no different than selling your soul, frankly.
Hey, that's well.
You just sell it cheap. That's all you're doing. You're just selling it cheap. The rest of us fuckers at least aiming a little higher. I mean, it's not while you're dumb in every aspect of your life. You're selling yourself.
Devil.
I'm going old school. I'm gonna sell my soul on eBay. At least like put it up for an auction and have a minimum. You know, like you gotta at least get a
to your boy Dan Cummins' point. I'm gonna wait till I'm homeless. You know,
there you go.
I'm gonna avoid some steps. I mean, shout out to Dan Cummins, man. I think he found the basement for some of us.
All right,
that's 100%, right? That's
bargain sold.
But all right,
yeah, you're devil.
But get out of here, devil. But all right, well, rest in peace, Tina and devil. Get out of Target, okay? Leave Target alone. Like let's let the rest of us just shop where we need to shop. That's not Walmart. If it really is still Walmart, we can pretend like it's not and pretend that we're feeling better about ourselves and what we're doing to the planet.
And all of you people out there, protect your children from rainbows and just general other happy things.
Natural ones.
Yeah, just, do your best.
Yeah. All right.
And also, we all know the Bible said the devil shopped at Caldors, which is why it no longer exists.
Oh, some bitch.
Research
Local reference for those of us listening. And we do have people listening across the country. I saw some Mississippi listeners, some Alabama listeners. So welcome to the Steam Full.
You guys listen closely.
Yeah, I think it's all good.
You guys listen very closely.
I think it's all good. I think we got a lot. Michigan, you've been picking up the slack out there, guys. You've been killing it out there. Michiganders. I even saw a Wisconsinite. Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't you know?
Oh yeah, you know.
Absolutely picking that up. So thank you. I'm seeing that map out there. Post Falls, Idaho. We see you out there. We love it. You're out there in Oregon and Washington. Giving us all love. California.
This cute girl from Oshkosh. Just saying.
Oshkosh. Oh yeah.
She was actually from Oshkosh.
Oshkosh is that's like peak Midwest, man. That's the shit right there. And and our boy Jack out in Minnesota. Yeah. Oh yeah. Out there. He's got his own podcast, Secret Police, the one who guested in with us. So watch out for when he's kicking in your door, of course, hanging out with all them KGB guys. Oh yeah. Oh, don't you know?
AKA my replacement.
Hey, it was just a sick day. Don't worry about it. We got you. 100%.
That's how it starts.
You cut your hand. You did the rituals. You sold your soul to Satan, and now you're hanging out at Target. You're with us.
That's how it starts. And then you're handing me a Target gift card and saying thank you for my services.
Blood in and blood out. That's how this works.
Act like you ain't gonna take it.
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah, I
got swimsuits to get.
All right, you're gonna take it.
But speaking of the devil, Greg pointed out that there's a devil out there running the film industry, and we had to talk about him. It's an auteur. It's a man it's the one, it's the only, it's James Cameron. We had to have a sit down this week and have a serious conversation about the man himself, JC. And we're not talking about that JC. We're talking about Jim Cameron. But
close enough.
We thought it was important. Yeah, we thought it was important, especially, now that, God, when did Avatar 2 come out? Help me out, guys. Anybody know when I can't even remember when they actually came out. It come out over.
It came out before our cold open that we're apparently not doing.
Well, I thought we had a fine cold open. Come on, you're just mad because you lost on the under. Rashawn always bets that I'm gonna sing, and most weeks I do.
I'm a win more than I'm lose.
He is winning more than he's losing. I would tell you not to give up on that.
You probably pivoted because I did bet on it.
I was always going with that, and I wasn't gonna sing Tina. I felt bad about Tina.
You were definitely gonna do Proud Mary. You definitely Proud Mary.
It would have been, if I could do Tina, it would have been Proud Mary. There's no doubt about it if I could, but I can't.
Don't say if you could. Just say you would.
You would have tried.
Would have tried, but I didn't feel right. Can't do Tina. No, can't do that. Tina. So and it would have 100% been Proud Mary. You
look out your window. There's 90 angry black women ready to put you in your place.
And as they should be. But though, just to my one bit of credit, the day after she passed, I realized I hadn't educated my kids, so I played them Proud Mary, and I could tell they liked it. They didn't want to admit it, but they were like, "This is pretty fucking good." I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. It's Tina Turner doing Proud Mary." Shut up, boy, and listen. So we were there with it, but
learn you something.
Yeah, aside from Rashawn being a little salty about losing the bet this week, that's okay. We get it. We wanted to talk about the man,
golden
the myth,
pony
the
boy.
legend. The man, the myth, the legend himself. And I actually agreed to take the lead this week, even though this was Greg's plan here. This was Greg's bright idea. Talking about the Terminator himself, James Cameron. But I just want to set in and just give a little bit of history to the man and just explain about his humble backgrounds, because it's a subject I've always wanted to talk about, and I could do a whole episode.
Because he's Canadian.
Well, there's always that, but no, it was his mentor that I really wanted to talk about, which was Roger Corman. Now, listen, guys, I understand some of you listen to our show. A lot of you like our banter. A lot of you like our nerd stuff. And what I'm about to give you is some hardcore nerd stuff, but just understand it's fun. And if you get a chance, look some of this stuff up and see some of the films I'm going to talk about. Just if you have an off Saturday, you got some good herb, you want to smoke it up, have a good time. This is the type of thing that you want to watch. Roger Corman was a B-rated director. And the interesting part is he was known for his long work hours, for his work ethic, for making the film as cheaply as possible, turning him around, always would be pivoting, and whatever was hot in the movie theater at that time, he could make a cheaper version of it, get it out into the grindhouse theaters, so much so that you get that it becomes its own genre that's later mimicked by none other than Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, right? In the grindhouse, that they were paying homage to some of his films while doing that. So this is a man you don't know. But without this man, I just want you to understand, you don't have James Cameron and you don't have Ron Howard, because he gave Ron Howard his first directing opportunity. And the payment for it was that he said, "Ron, you got to star in one of my movies first, and then I'll let you direct." Now, Ron was coming out of Happy Days. It was still going on, but he desperately wanted to move on, and he was able to direct a few episodes of Happy Days, and he just was worried he wasn't going to move up in the film industry. So Ron makes a classic film. I will try and remember to put it in the episode description for a film called Eat My Dust, which is just a classic. By the way, really is the presage and shows the future of movies, right? Because what's the biggest box office draw this weekend? Fast and Furious 10. Well, I submit to you that Eat My Dust is Fast and Furious before there's a Fast and Furious, right? We had a Kanye before we had a Kanye. Now we have a Fast and Furious before you have a Fast and Furious, which I will try and find the trailer for this because it has the best tagline ever, which is Ron Howard pops his clutch and tells the world to eat my dust. Right? It is classic. It's 1,000% on. So much so these movies, this type of genre movie was so popular. Mark Hamill made one called Corvette Summer, right? This idea of just being the all-American rebel and jumping in your fast car and doing fast car shit for 2 hours. It was sweeping the nation, but this still launches Ron Howard's career. And he the reason I know this is Ron Howard went on, at that time it was Late Night with David Letterman, back when he was on NBC following Carton, and talked about it. So it really was pretty important to him, and he still gives credit to Corman for starting. This is no Apollo 13, no Splash. I'm just you can just go down the list of all the movies that Ron Howard's made and done a fantastic job on. So to bring it back to James Cameron worked in his art department, as well as Bill Paxton. They were both working in the art department, and Cameron was known as such a hard driver. Apparently, there was a time when somebody came through. I think it was a reporter or someone was coming around, and Cameron just kind of started showing him around the set like he was in charge. He really always had this ego. He really always had the mindset of being this director. But Corman, like he showed Howard and others, he was a bit of a taskmaster, and so is James Cameron is known that. Long days, hard times, trying to make the movie for a little bit less and a little bit faster and a little bit quicker of a turnaround. But it leads to just a fascinating, almost summer camp. Catherine Bigelow, who is eventually marries James Cameron, and directs the movie. Directs a couple of fine films in her own right. The best, in my opinion, being Near Dark, another film you really got to look up and see. Vampire genre that totally breaks the genre and bends it. Also has a lot of Aliens alumni in it, so much so there is an Easter egg before we even call them that. They walk by a theater and Aliens is playing on there. As she breaks out. She also directs Strange Days and The Hurt Locker, but they meet while in this sort of summer camp for great filmmakers, right? Under this dude, Roger Corman. And I have to go back to a film that really brings it all together, which is hard to find. It was on Amazon for a brief period of time. I don't think you can find it there anymore. And it's called Battle Beyond the Stars. Now, on that, James Cameron is the DP, I believe. So he moves up to director of photography at that point. And James Horner, who of course scores most of James Cameron's movies. Oh, director of art. Okay, he's director of art on that one. But the fact that you have James Horner also scoring this film, right? You have all these elements coming together, and that you see that this evolution, like in this old school evolution of starting in one place and then moving through a system and then being able to sort of work your way up through the Hollywood system. You see this great evidence of. Now, I saw Battle Beyond the Stars in the theater because it was a time before even VHS. Kids who were listening to us, look up what a VHS tape was. It was a hell of a time. It was such a special time because at that moment we could watch it whenever we wanted to. I've talked about it before. But prior to that, you had to go to the movie theaters to see these things. And Corman produces this film that's a total ripoff, that's totally trying to draft off the coattails of Star Wars. He would be the first to admit it and was 100% happy with whatever he could get, whatever those coattails he could ride. But the plot of it, he actually takes the plot of The Magnificent Seven, right? It's starring Richard Thomas, John Boy himself, and the idea of a lonely sort of space frontier town that has to go out and get a bunch of different desperados to try and help them fend off a worse bunch of criminals that are coming in to take it. Even the little to the Yul Brenner character, they call him Geld, okay, because the guy is in it for the money, and Geld is the Yiddish word for gold. Yes, they totally did. Yeah, he totally did that, Corman, right? 110% gave the Jews in it for the money. Absolutely. Loving every second of this. 110%.
His bullets look like little whatchamacallit, things made out of clay.
They they weren't dreidels, but they stuck to the space theme overall. They have an American in space, by the way, that goes by Space Cowboy. And I think that's George Papard. I'll have to double check here in a sec when I get off there. Or if Rashawn can, is it George Papard? I got to see who plays him in that. Rashawn's always got my back on the research here on the fly. He's going to there, but they have the American in space known as Space Cowboy. He literally puts that much into it that he just goes by that moniker. It is a fantastic film. In space. What a fantastic moniker he's got going there. What a fantastic time he has doing this. I loved every second of it. It's George Papard. Okay. All right. I got, if only there was a way for me to make money off of all the useless movie information I have in my head, which is why I invited you all into the steam tunnels this week. But
I was going to say, I think this is it.
Yeah, this is the best I got. This is it.
Yeah.
But that's just the thing I just wanted to give you on the background of James Cameron. Greg's got more to say on him, and I will hand it off to him, and I want him to get his due. But I just felt that since we were going to take on this subject this week, I really had to break it down and talk about what a wonder, if I had the chance, if I had to give up this life, which I don't really want to, but if I had to, if the genie comes to me and says, you got to give it up and you got to do it over again differently, I would really want to be on those sets. I would really want to be hanging out on the Corman sets and learning the trade that way. Cause it seemed like a summer camp for movie makers. It really did seem like a fantastic time. I'm sure it was crazy. I'm sure God knows what happened in the off hours, and I'm sure it was crazy hard work too, but man, the titles, Battle Beyond the Stars, Piranha, which actually leads
Piranha
to
2.
James Cameron's first directorial debut is Piranha 2. Corman directs Piranha. Cameron gets to direct Piranha 2. And I'm trying to think of some of the other.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Cameron.
Oh yeah, no, but that's how it comes out. That's how the evolution comes out, right? The original Piranha is a reflection of the movie Jaws, right? It's popular, so let's put something else that can eat people, even though piranhas really don't.
What else?
Doesn't matter. We don't need facts. We just get piranhas. It's all good. And I, grew up seeing these movies. Piranha particularly made the rounds on UHF movies for years, and it was just one of those fantastic things that we could do. That you could see on any given Saturday night. So the summer camp for movie makings. That is what gave us Jim Cameron right there, James himself. And I didn't even get into the absolute depth of filmmaking that the Aliens was, that almost broke his career, and James Rainier being kicked out of the lead role that gave us Michael Biehn, all those things. There's just, hours of stories I could tell. I know an obscene amount about James Cameron's history. I don't even think I'm not even that into him as a director, but some of his movies I adore and love. So
the irony of what you just said is that be careful what you wish for and who you wish it to, because the person we're talking about may give you advice that you may not be expecting. And I would argue that Piranha, I understand the connection and the need to put it next to Jaws. However, we forget that it was one of the last films in a long line of 70s animal attack films. There were multiple. I mean, we're talking about literally it was to the point where they just stopped even trying to come up with creative titles. I mean, you got Frogs. It was literally a movie about frogs that attack. The Swarm, Killer Bees, Squirm. I mean, by the time you get to the Food of the Gods, it's kind of like, all right, we kind of understand that, there's some ants, rattlers, I mean, like, you can just keep going. So the bees, Empire of the Ants. I would think Piranha actually, because of how campy it was, which falls in line with those 70s movies and that sort of Hollywood series. It wasn't necessarily one film studio that was producing these, and it wasn't just one director or writer, but it definitely was a theme that was coming out of that decade. And I would say Piranha falls squarely in line with that. Matter of fact, when I just even researched it real fast, the list that it falls under, Jaws isn't even close to it.
Well, I mean, we were never making Jaws, right? That was always it, but it was still just that idea of what, how could you draft off of something? How could you run off the coattails? And you're right. Certainly animal attack films were a thing. I remember, wasn't Michael Caine in Swarm? I think he was. Which was always a favorite.
Well, similar to the movie you're talking about, Battle Beyond the Stars. A lot of these, old movies or older movies that took place in prior to, let's say, the 90s. It has a lot of stars that we either grew up watching, saw rise to stardom, or knew they were stars from bigger masterpieces that we didn't know. Also, you have to work, you're an actor, you don't just get millions of dollars from one project. You have to do a couple of projects, and some of those projects just don't land. So I also for the longest time swore that Han Solo, not Harrison Ford, Han Solo was in Food of the Gods. All because of one little clip that I saw before I went to commercial, and then my brother took over the TV, and it just stuck in my head until I was in my 20s. I could actually see it again.
It's your own
Yeah.
version of the Mandela effect. All right.
So, well, it's just hilarious. Like in my head, it was like Han Solo, not Harrison Ford. I know Harrison Ford is Han Solo, but in my head, I'm like the character of Han Solo for some reason. Is in this.
Right. I think Charlton Heston was Indiana Jones before Indiana Jones.
Well, you could make that. You could make that argument for sure. It's it. But all right, let's bring it over to the man, the myth, the legend himself, Greg Starchild. Let's check in with you and see what you were. You brought this subject to the table, so I just want to set the table, and I want you to set it up, and I want you to go into really talking about James Cameron now that I've educated the STEAM people on his background and his pedigree.
I think you're a fool if you come out of nowhere and you try to say, someone like James Cameron sucks or doesn't know what he's doing. That's impossible. I would never try to make that argument. The man, obviously, especially technically, if not as far as, making a film that matters, knows exactly what he's doing. And he has taken this to the degree, but as Three of Clubs touched on earlier today, it's funny how one person ends up known for something, negatively or not. And one of those is Michael Bay. Now, we recently talked about Michael Bay a little bit, and Michael Bay is kind of known for and is synonymous with being the batshit director, causing bayhem and things like that. Like, he's known for being the overtop lunatic director that will take your childhood dreams and just smash them for money. Like, he will smash them and take money for it. And I think it's oh no, that's wrong. I think it's fair. Forget I was going to say that. Like, it's completely fair, and it's definitely
Bad Boys.
But it's just not fair that he's the only one known for it. And the other day, I decided through a friend of mine's idea to subject myself to Avatar 2. Because people come to me and they say, "Hey, Greg, you're an artist. You would like this." No, I won't. No, I won't. So he recommended that I see this, and I was 100% right. It's the exact same damn movie. But then I couldn't help but fall into the fact that, he is just as bad as Michael Bay. He's just as bad as Michael Bay, and it's actually infuriating on a different level because he is trying to make something that's meaningful out of his movies, and he ends up doing something completely opposite. Like, these things have all of the heart and intensity of, say, I don't know, a commercial possibly before you get to the YouTube clip that you're looking for. Like, there is nothing about this that makes you think, oh, I'm going to go and save the planet now. So it's the exact same. There's nothing to spoil because it's literally the exact same movie, the same as Avatar. So if you've seen Avatar, you've seen Avatar 2. And I'm not a big fan of the white savior trope. I know some people do because, you're making it for a white audience. So this white character is their avatar. Look up, Viggo.
Slow down, Farrakhan.
Green Book. What's up?
Slow down, Farrakhan.
All right. And it actually made me think of a good movie that a lot of people are ripping into, Dances with Wolves. Now, a lot of it, you can argue about the white savior trope. You can go back and forth with whether or not you think this was accurate, and, times change, and people are going to have to accept the fact that you are going to be known as progressive for the time. And for the time, everyone is going to be known as progressive for the time. And for the time, Dances with Wolves was a brilliant film. And it only makes me think of that because the way that he makes these blue people the kind of stand-ins for brown people and are supposedly dealing with colonialism and European imperialism, and their avatar is honestly far more insulting than anything that movie or even the Green Book has to offer. Like, I'm watching this movie and I am getting offended. I'm getting offended. This is a juvenile take on a complex problem. When it was the first Avatar film, when it was just bad Fern Gully, I kind of let it go. It would have been nice if there was a rapping bat or maybe a singing Tim Curry, but it wasn't going to happen. You could even put him in the blue suit. I don't care.
To be
But
fair,
you
I
know
think
what?
Tim Curry was dead by the time.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
probably.
he's isn't he still alive? I thought I didn't. I know he had a stroke, but I thought he was still alive.
I think he's still alive.
Yeah, he had
I
a
have
stroke. Poor guy. Poor guy.
He was
so,
dead
yeah.
to Cameron. Whatever.
But that was exactly it. Like these kinds of messages, and it made me, look at the message in Terminator 2. Like again, another juvenile handling of a complex problem. It made me look at the class distinction message that he tries to throw into Titanic. Again, juvenile, absolutely juvenile. I would say he needs to take a book from Michael Bay and just make entertainments. Stop trying to make them meaningful, because it just falls on the same tropes, and it ends up being more condescending when you actually try, because it's a reminder that this is the limit of people's understanding of this complex problem, and they just go patting his back and stroking his ego. It's like, it's so powerful. As in The Abyss, I was totally on the underground aliens side. Now, if you've seen the extended version, they have an IMAX screen underwater, and they start showing.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's really awesome, actually. I bet they get like Scarface and everything, all the streaming channels. And they make him sit through this. They make Ed Harris's character sit through this montage of all of the evils that man has committed. And I'm like, oh God, get over yourself. Like, you are not going to save the world with a movie. And this just shows how, again, how narrow your understanding of these complex geopolitical problems are. And putting yourself up in this really uber patriotic way as the people who understand this. Oh, look at us. And it does not fly. And I feel like, especially now, it doesn't fill you with hope. I'm like Leonardo DiCaprio dangling on the door. Like, I just don't feel any sense of hope watching this. I feel like, oh my God, despair. Everyone still thinks that all of these serious issues, like this man who takes years to make these movies, clearly not years to write them, but years to make these movies, this is the best that he could come up with, and he did it again. Now, don't get me wrong. You want to watch what's basically a really awesome screensaver, go ahead. Like, it is an awesome, beautiful screensaver. There's blue people swimming underwater with alien whales, and then they meet slightly aqua blue people, and then there's aqua blue people and blue people swimming underwater with the whales, and the mean white people and mechs come along and fuck everything up. And then the fight just ensues, because supposedly that's entirely what this issue is. And there is a white savior, but the white savior is in a blue person suit. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to stand in for, but I mean, it is still basically a white savior movie. He's just wearing a blue
Thomas C. Howell and Soul Man. That's what it's supposed to be.
I was going to say cultural appropriation is what it is. I think in the literal sense.
I guess so. But having grown up with I don't know, a better class of white savior movies, I guess. I guess I can honestly say that now I have a much better appreciation for Dangerous Minds, because I can honestly say,
Rip Coolio.
Right, with Coolio, I can say I have a better appreciation of it, because this is, again, such a one-dimensional and uninformed, preachy and childish grasp of not only colonialism but post-colonialism and war and European and American exceptionalism, that, you know what, if you're going to keep prying these messages into your films badly, just stop. Just make pretty screensavers. Just say pretty screensavers. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really all it was, and just leave it at that. Because now, I'm gonna go watch Dances with Wolves, a fine film.
Look at that. We're talking shit about Canadian. Josh went and grabbed his wife. That's messed up.
Well, I just, that I have to say that, firstly, just that, way back in my 20s, the woman I was dating at the time, and this is her words, by the way, direct quote, when faced with dangerous minds, was, quote, "stand and deliver with tits." I'm not kidding. That was the actual review at the time. So I have to say, cutting who's gonna teach these kids? Absolutely going there. And also, I just have to say that, when you're talking about better class of white savior movies, now you're gonna have a hard time getting past Tom Cruise, living out my near sexual fantasy of, somehow being up in the mountains of Japan, being taught martial arts by a bunch of samurai, right? like that's just, that's just,
thank God he was there.
Oh yeah, like
he was there.
Thank God.
How would they ever learn how to use those guns?
Yeah, I know, right? 1,010%. It's just it is. Yeah, that was truly, like, if you could not ever put out at least my version of near pornographic dreams. Growing up as a kid, it's like, if only I could have been up in the mountains with the last stragglers of a samurai generation, then life could have been different. But there you go.
I really love that movie for a lot of weird reasons. I don't think that movie's nearly as bad as a lot of people like to think it is, The Last Samurai, but it is hilarious sort of clash of history, in the sense of, you might as well call it fiction, because there's so many different elements of it that is so far from the truth, starting with the fact that, and I kind of wanted to cover this, but Josh always ignores my topic ideas, so I guess we'll get to it maybe later. Happy Pride Month, by the way, everyone. We didn't get our intro, so Josh, you blame Josh for that.
As always,
rainbow hate. But the funny part is, funny part is, if people actually understood who samurais were, I'm not sure they would want them to be saved. I'm not sure they would actually be pushing for, at least the modern iteration that was supposed to be depicted, or would have been around during the time of the actual event that the movie was based on. There was an actual event. It wasn't quite the cinematic sort of throwdown at the end that we all saw, obviously, but there was a moment where Japan opened up their borders, and one of the first things that they did was they consulted with ex-military officials, and a lot of them were American, because one thing that we exported very well and continue to is war. So just made sense. It's just that guy was not the person Tom Cruise made him out to be. He did not have that sort of expertise the movie tried to make it out to be. And again, samurai were basically businessmen who wanted way more privilege than they had earned or needed at that moment. Maybe way back in the time when there was that one black samurai, like 400 years prior, they were a little bit more noble. I know what you saw in the movie, not actually what you saw.
America. Yeah. Well, all right. With that intro in, and Rashawn making the salient and accurate historical points, let's hear what the Three of Clubs has to say for his 10 minutes here on the great JC himself.
All right. Well, since I continue to say, I guess I'm dying on this cross, no cold open, so I'm gonna use it right now. First, I have 2 points. One, ending with the one I just talked about, in the sense that this is another public service announcement for all listeners, and please tell your friends this. It would make no goddamn sense for ninjas to dress the way we see them in movies. Think about it. Yeah, sure. In the one part of the shadow, the darkest shadow, they're going to be hidden. Everywhere else, all you're going to see is some random ass person running through your hall in black. That's going to stick out pretty fast. So One, yeah, ninjas did not look like that. They just were peasants that were not even trained. They just had one specific job, and they were expendable. So that's who ninjas were, if in fact they actually existed, because there's also talk about
that movie would be lame
being made up. And then the second thing is I want to go back to our last episode and address something, because I was doing my best not to fight. I was doing my best to, like, you know, be cool and calm and collected and let everyone have their points. But upon listening to it again, and I heard it when we talked about it in a moment, and I'm like, no, that's some bullshit, but I'm gonna let it go, and then hopefully I'll get to it. I didn't, so I'm doing it now. It is insane that we try to act like DC was the more grounded of the two comics. First of all, they're both comics. Second of all, how many fucking Earths are in DC? How many? Like 1,000? 1,100 Earths? Like, no, you don't get to walk around saying you're more grounded. And anytime something happens, like, oh no, this is Earth 602. We really are 638. No, shut the fuck up. No, you don't get to say that. You're just as loony and wacky as all the other comic makers. So back to our guy JC, not the one in heaven, but the one creating heaven. For a lot of people, like weird fucking shitty movies that go way too goddamn long. That is kind of the iteration he has turned into. I would love to point out that he has made way more movies than we want to hate him for. I think Greg kind of nails in the sense that it's kind of weird that we pay him for so many different bad things. And frankly, he has been responsible for so many technological advances when it comes to both how we see cinema, how we hear cinema, and how we make cinema, to the point that his reach is so long and so wide. You can hate him. That's like kind of like saying you're never going to watch a Harvey Weinstein movie again. I'm telling you right now, that's not going to hold up, because the reach is a lot longer and wider than you think. And chances are you're probably watching something that James Cameron had something to do with, whether it's his technology, his consulting, or just his direct influence, that you may end up loving more than you hate. You know, so you can hate his movies. That's fine. All good. Lord knows that people working for him can hate him and will hate him. It is kind of hilarious how, like, if you look up any documentary about, let's say, The Abyss, there are a lot of people who are, I would argue, most likely pacifists in most moments, but then you bring up James Cameron and they're ready to go. Ed Harris to this day is still ready to fight someone if they want to talk about James Cameron. Now, to be fair, James Cameron, some of the stuff that he got lauded for in the making of The Abyss 2, understanding, again, another technological advance, working with different sciences, understanding how to actually increase the breath of a human being underwater. This time learning from The Abyss and actually working with professionals who know what the fuck they're talking about, instead of just holding actors underwater and say, yeah, you know, we got emergency personnel on staff, so if it goes to that, we'll be okay. Like the part at the end when Mary Masterson Antonio, I think that's her name. I always screw it up. I love her though. She's great.
Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio.
Thank you. Great actor. Love her. I loved her in the movie. Abyss is one of my favorite movies. But the irony of that whole scene where she drowns and they have to resuscitate her is that happened like 4 or 5 times on the set. That's why a lot of people who work on that set will literally go to homicide if it's legal for a moment, if it means they get to kill James Cameron. They're not playing around with it. James Cameron is a person who just understands his vision and pushes it. He's one of those monsters that we hate in the moment, and it's okay, I guess, to hate him in the history and the passing of things, but we all benefit from it. It's no different than, like, yeah, I as a person who can't stand a lot of things that are attached to religion, and I can't stand when people are just wanton killed. That's wanton for some of you individuals, not wanton. Think about it. Oh, so point being is, like, think of the Inquisition or Jack the Ripper. Horrible situations in the Inquisition. Millions of people killed for no damn reason. Jack the Ripper killed a lot of people. Horrible murder. However, we benefit from those things because what came from Jack the Ripper was forensic science in a way that we understand it now, and frankly has solved a lot more than what would have been happening if it wasn't for someone like Jack the Ripper. I know, horrible. And then same thing with the Inquisition. There are so many different medical understandings that came from the torture of the Inquisition that, frankly, a lot of us are benefiting from. It's horrible to think about. I get it. I understand it. I know I just put James Cameron next to 100 years of torture millions of people. Oh,
I just wanted to say, I was already stuck. I was already stuck on someone with with some poor sex worker with a Cockney accent, and like, I know love, and then be like, shh, one day this will advance catching criminals like myself. But then we went to the Spanish Inquisition. You win this. You won the day, Rashawn. Rashawn wins.
I'm not even
Rashawn wins the episode. Rashawn wins the episode. All right, continue.
So I'm not even done because I alluded to this, and thankfully we're back to 3 people because what I'm about to say is probably not going to land for any of our spouses. However, what I've alluded to is that Mr. JC, Canada's own, is in a lot of ways the first steam gentleman. I know this is going to push a couple of buttons, but hang with me here. This man actually was a trucker before he even got into film. He was a trucker. He had started a life. He married this nice woman who was a waitress. It kind of was like a weird scene out of the Terminator. I mean, like, this is who he was. And he is, to all of us, he is here because of and the benefit from Star Wars. He is a son of Star Wars. It was seeing Star Wars that made him actually look at his life and say, this is no longer what I want. This isn't what I actually care about. I care about making a sci-fi movie so hard, so much, I'm willing to do anything, which is something to keep in mind when you understand how he pushes people, because he's not faking the funk. This man literally ended his entire life at that moment, gave up everything, including his marriage. Left a woman, which is, again, horrible thing. And I'm not trying to advocate for those actions, especially on this panel. I'm just pointing out the man saw Star Wars, fell in love, and said, this is what I want to do. I want to make sci-fi movies moving forward. And he went for it. The summer camp sort of film production of Battle Beyond the Stars that Josh and aka the Birdman had pointed out was one of his first projects. Actually, I think it might have been his first project. And he did that literally a year after seeing Star Wars. He was able to absolutely just let it all go and say, this is what I commit to. And because he had such a passion, such a drive for it, and it was clear because, again, he ended the life that he had at that moment almost on a whim. He was able to move that forward into showing his passion. And frankly, he got that position on as an art director because he showed, what's his name? Who was the director of that? Corman. He showed.
Roger. Yeah, Roger Corman.
Yeah. He showed Corman and the other producers an 11-minute short that he made to show how much he understands about effects, which is, in a lot of ways, is pretty empowering and commendable when you think about it. The man, this was not what he trained to do. There was nothing in his background that actually suggested he should be able to do this. But because he had such a strong vision, like it or not, maybe not like his plot lines so much or whatever, but he had such a strong vision that he was able to actually put this together without any real technical training, who was able to convince individuals who actually had technical training and skill set, and then he propelled that into next project after next project after next project. Now, are there a line of bodies behind him? Yeah, absolutely. But you go ahead and tell me the last blockbuster director that you can think of that don't have a line of bodies behind them. These individuals have to be willing to ride the line of evil and good to do what they want to do, because frankly, they're mad in the head, and that's what produces the art that we take for granted and enjoy at times. It's no different than there's been studies that have looked at world despots and world leaders throughout time, and they found that there's like 1 to 2 degrees between the two. It is not as far of a difference as people think. It's not hard to believe that film directors, especially as they continue to get more budget, aka more power, that they will lean towards those things. In some moments, they would probably be the greatest leader that any person on set has ever come across. Think about some of the productions that we talked about. Think about some of the advancements that we talked about. A lot of them happen on the fly. And in some cases, you're definitely going to be someone's, Mao Zedong.
Well, I'm still, wow. Now we're at Mao Zedong. I gotta say, that was one of my favorite 3 Club tours of history ever. But I'm still loving it. Still loving the idea of Jack the Ripper. leading into the Spanish Inquisition and Mao Zedong. That's absolutely fantastic, my man. I love that. This is why I love having you around, and why I love talking with both of you, because that's not for those of us listening. We could have had this conversation a long time before we started this podcast. There's no doubt in my mind, and that's why I want to be with these guys. That's why I want to sit here and talk with you. I think that's the premise for the show. That's why we're here today, because we can go there and go all those places. And I think you're right. I think Jim Cameron is known for pushing people and known for making him miserable on set. Goes all the way back. I actually love how Sigourney Weaver, I'll bring it up briefly, on Aliens kind of saved that movie. Because apparently everyone was so pissed they were just going to stop making the movie, which is a big deal, right? You're being paid to make the movie, and you're like, "Fuck this guy," and she basically, Sigourney Weaver basically was like, "All right, Jim, you're gonna have a sit down with the cast, and you're gonna make nice, and we're gonna do nice, and the cast, you're gonna listen to Jim, and we're gonna get this fucking movie made. Let's go," because she's a consummate professional.
One thing I think should be mentioned for guys like James Cameron, and this is easily proved one way or the other. It just observably, this is what it looks like. He seems to have a very strong loyalty to some of the people that will commit to work with him. I mean, you brought up Sigourney Weaver. Sure, there are moments where I'm sure she was willing to stab him directly in the neck with anything sharp or, frankly, a spoon. However, she has been on multiple of his projects. Same thing with guys like Michael Biehn. Same thing with, rest in peace, Bill Paxton. I mean, we can keep going. There, what's her name? She was Vasquez. She was in Terminator 2. Yes. I mean, the doctor in Terminator and Terminator 2, the psychologist, was with him in Battle Beyond the Stars. I mean, you can keep going, but we can keep saying he's horrible and people hate him. And yes, again, someone like Ed Harris will fucking stab him with a spoon if he could, if it was legal, and rightfully so. He does seem, and obviously he's not loyal to his wives. I mean, I think he's on.
Well, yeah, about to say he's on at least wife number 6, I think now. And but
I'm sure if Linda Hamilton ever heard this, she'd be like, "All right, well, fuck both of you, fuck all of you," because I'm sure she has some thoughts. However, it's like think of Michael Biehn. That man literally is like, "Look, man, just come with me on this next set. Don't worry about it. I'll find a role for you. Just hold this gun and we'll figure it out." So,
one of the reasons I opened with, no one's arguing with his technical skills is,
you said,
that is exactly it.
And I'm totally with you. You said that's kind of what you said. I mean, I was listening.
But yeah, I'd never argue with the man's technical skills. Like, all of those things are absolutely true. But then it comes down to the always, male ego stroking idea that you have to be a bastard. I'm sure that that's exactly what they tell themselves, and I hope that they sleep well with that concept. But the truth is, no. Many of people have made also groundbreaking films, probably more groundbreaking and more important than this should be considered an animated film dog shit, without having to make a world full of enemies. Like, you could say, well, obviously Michael Bay would definitely say that about himself. Well, I have to, because I'm making Transformers. Shut the fuck up. Like, you don't have to, not only do you not have to be mean, you don't have to be awake to make this movie, sir. And for James Cameron to be able to try to play that card, I mean, a lot of work goes into it. You're juggling a lot of things, which is absolutely true, and I imagine it being frustrating. Lots of other people do it without being a bastard. You get off on being a bastard. You enjoy being a bastard. And you know what? If anyone wants to work with you, knowing your reputation, that's perfectly fine. That's not entirely my point. What is more my point is, please stay away from important or social issues. Take a little, page from Michael Bay and just make really shiny dog shit. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. I would just like you to do it in a way that doesn't make all colonized or descendants of all colonized or present colonized or enslaved people feel like you think they're cartoon blue people. that
Every
needs
movie
saving
ever
by
made
you.
has every movie he's ever made has a social issue. And by the way,
that shouldn't happen.
TSG listeners, I need you to understand we have reached a historical moment because for the first time in our entire recording history, Mr. Starchild took the mic and leaned back with his comment.
Yeah,
We have finally got to a subject where the Starchild is feeling it on a whole different level. He is leaning back. This is like when we kick it with Starchild. That's what that looked like. He was out of work mode.
That was some peak Starchild. Absolutely. You know, all we needed was, can I kick it? Yes, we can. Right? A little De La Soul.
I heard that in Starbucks the other day.
Yeah.
It's on commercials. I mean,
it is. So, right. We've gone well past that. Speaking of commercialism. All right. Well, I just want to assure you that that all three of us here at TSG are not bastards. We're really good friends. We really like doing this. We really like bringing this to you. Like, that's why we're doing it. All right. I feel good in our chances here, but we need your help. We need you to spread the word. We need you to spread that steam all around the world and all around the country. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your cousin, your second cousin that you had that awkward hookup with at the family reunion. Maybe. I mean, it's all good. I'm just throwing out every possible scenario. Come on. I'm not talking anything personal. I just,
that was very specific,
it's out there,
man. I mean, I know, right? Your family reunion's getting down.
Hey, man,
I don't know, but I'm going.
Okay, there you go. He's showing up. Greg's like, I just got to see this.
I'll stick to mine. I'll stick to mine. And worst that's going to happen is a shouting match over spades or dominoes, some bones.
Dominoes, I was going to say.
Bones or a shouting match over who need to go to the stove next. And by the way, that's how the groceries.
I'll do you a favor. I'll make the potato salad.
Okay. All right. Yes. Well,
just don't call us colored greens.
All right.
Oh, we had to still get that one in there. Never gonna. Yeah, that'll go on my epitaph without a doubt. And as the white guy,
until I get some more brisket, that's how it's gonna get down.
All right. Well, we're working on the brisket here. Gonna keep taking that. But please, tell a friend. Push it, put us out there. Go over to Apple Podcasts or to Spotify. Rate and review us. Get us up on the charts. Help us out there. Follow us on the socials. We are Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram? Probably we're the most popular. You can the Steam Gentleman Podcast on Facebook. The Steam G's on the Twitter there on the Musk first, the Elon Musk machine now.
Under new management.
Under new management, exactly. And I don't think this is the show to be dropping racial epitaphs on or anti-Semitic epitaphs on. Up to you, I guess. But you can do that again on Twitter now. Yay! Okay.
Hey, you know what? We can combine it and just say Nike.
Nike. Okay. Get all up in there. But we appreciate it.
Oh my God! Just start something.
Since I brought us in without our usual cold open because I was so broken up over Tina, let me bring it back over to the three clubs. What you got going on for the rest of the week here?
Well, thankfully, as we're recording it, we are on what is now being known out there as Friday Eve. So I plan on making it to the best as possible to the end of work tomorrow, so I can get absolutely hammered, which is my favorite weekend activity, just getting hammered like I'm front row of Leonard Skinner. And I would like to also hammered drunk. I was like, say we started our conversation today by talking about U.S. backed and influence made wars in South and Central America, and I would point out that there are a lot of presidents that most of our country would look at and say great leaders. I'm not sure the rest of the world would agree with that. So definitely not South or Central America. So with that said, is James Cameron really that bad?
Love it. Love how you actually managed to tie James Cameron back to Franklin Pierce. Looking at you. All right, Gregory Starchild. Let's hear your final thoughts for the day before you head on out.
Oh, I don't think I was really going to do anything massive. Just going to say happy Pride Month, everybody. Enjoy, get down, represent, ally yourself if you have not allied yourself. And rest in peace, Tina. Of course, I consider myself blessed to have lived in such a great time of Black female vocalists, and Tina Turner was always at the top of the list, no question about it. So we don't need another
1000%.
hero, but we just lost one.
Oh, he did it. He did it. He did it.
You wait all
Look
week
at
for
that. He did. Absolutely. All right. I'm just
what about
gonna
you,
keep on keeping
Mr.
on.
Birdman?
I am focusing on keeping my head above water, keeping out of trouble, and keep my kids alive. That's really all I got right now. Like, it's just trying my best to just hit that bare minimum. That's all I'm trying to do. So we okay with that. That's all right. You know what? Because the bare minimum, if in case you haven't noticed, people, that bar keeps getting higher and higher for what the bare minimum is here in this land we call America. So yeah, take that deep breath. Have that good time, stay close, stay happy.
Sorry, but we are the country where freaking we have to actually start putting up signs, and they have been doing it for the last 5 years of do not leave your infant in your car. So I would argue that the bar you're talking about is sadly for our country fairly high.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that way. But in the meantime, this is Josh the Birdman saying, keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on. He's playing with the stars, man. He's got starlight. Got starlight in his hands.
Oh, if all right, people, that THC Nutella all the time.